So Wales beat Georgia to top the pool, and now we wait and see what happens elsewhere to find out who will be playing in the quarterfinals. But all you can say about today's game really is job done. A few players made an impact, others not so much. Let's dig into things and see what happened. So first of all, we have to give our sympathies out to Gareth Anscombe. After all the injuries over the last few years, he finally gets back to fitness just in time for the World Cup, has a man of the match performance off the bench against Australia, and then he tweaks his groin in the warm-up for this game. I mean, you just couldn't write it for him. You could just see how gutted he was when he came off the pitch. He was basically in tears, and I really hope that it isn't as bad as he was obviously thinking, because he just looked so despondent. We'll see what comes out now in the next couple of days, but yeah, it looks like we're going to be going forward with Biggar and Costello as the number 2. And this obviously meant that Costello started in this game, which was a late change for Wales. Anyway, get well soon, Gareth. My heart goes out to you. I feel really bad for you, but yeah, unfortunately rugby can be cruel at times, and this is one of those times. Anyway, let's get into the match and see what happened. Well, the first half anyway was a scruffy affair. Wales didn't seem to want to open up really. They stuck to the kicking game, but they weren't really executing it that great, I don't think. Georgia brought exactly what we thought they would, tough, aggressive, and it took Wales a little bit of time to get going, but eventually after about a quarter of an hour, it was a great charge down from Tommy Rafel. He then got up and jackled and won a penalty, which Wales eventually kicked to the corner. A little bit later, Francis goes over for a nice try for him. Then, about 10 minutes later, another attack in maul on the Georgia 5. Costello, who puts Liam Williams into space with a brilliant pass, you have to say, cut open the Georgian defence, and then a good bit of dancing feet from Liam, who finished it off to make it 14-0. Wales started to look a little bit comfortable then. Georgia didn't really offer anything at this point. And then when they were attacking, there was a great rip from Rafel, who turns defence into attack, and then from that possession eventually leading to a penalty for Costello, who nails it and makes it 17-0 for Wales, and Wales are in complete control at this point. But then a little bit of complacency starts to slip in going in towards the end of the first half. George North, 5-10 minutes that he probably won't want to remember. It was, first of all, it was a bit of a wasteful kick from Liam Williams, and North was offside instead of working back. He just carries on running forward, gives away. It's just such a cheap penalty. They actually took pan to Gatland, and he shouted something with George's name in it, so I don't know exactly what he said, but you can use your imagination. Then it was a good kick, and the Georgians tried an attacking maul, defended really well by the forwards, you have to say, but then just the constant pressure on the defensive line. Eventually they spin it out wide, and it was a weak tackle by North again, the culprit, unfortunately, and I think it was the captain for Georgia goes over, gives them a bit of confidence then as half time approaches, and they sort of finish the first half with a bit of momentum. It was just Wales just playing into exactly what Georgia wanted: scraps, lazy penalties, and some weak tackling. And yeah, Georgia sort of bring themselves back into the game, and then it's half time. So the first half was a bit of a scrappy affair. There was a couple of standout players. Both second rows were great. The line out defensively was really good for Wales. I think we stole about 3 or 4 in just that first half. But Rafel at the breakdown and the tackle area was just an absolute menace. I think he had 3 or 4 steals and the rip. And obviously the charge down, he was just everywhere defensively. So yeah, it was great to see. I've always been, anyone who's followed this channel knows I'm a big fan of Rafel. So it was good to see him getting an opportunity and performing to what he can. Then that takes us into the second half. And unfortunately, that too was a little bit of a slog. Although there was a lot of points in the second half, I felt like the standard dropped again. There was a lot of scrums, a lot of injuries, breakdowns and stuff like that. Not a lot of ball in play time, unfortunately. But anyway, as the second half started, a good defensive set from Wales and eventually leads to a poor pass from Georgia the ball goes all the way out. I think it was North picked it up, just give it to Zamet, and he just had a run in. It was just so easy for him. He didn't even look like he got out of fourth gear. He was just gone, and before anyone could get anywhere near him. So a perfect start for Wales, and give us back the momentum right at the start of the first half, and a nice easy try for Zamet. I thought then this would sort of be a little bit of the floodgates for Wales. I thought Georgia's heads might just drop now, coming out at half time. But in fairness, they showed character. We know they've got a lot of it, but yeah, they really showed it. They kept in the fight. It started again really scrappy. There was a lot of scrums, like I was saying. There was a period where there was like 3 or 4 scrums reset in a row. But Georgia carry on attacking. Eventually, the pressure tells. I think it was it was Costello maybe gave away another lazy penalty on maybe halfway. They kicked to the corner again. Eventually, the big ball carriers, the pressure told, and another try for Georgia, keeping themselves in the game. At this point, it was 24-14, so, well in the game. And then literally, like 4 or 5 minutes later, more poor defence by Wales. The wheels started coming off slightly. In fairness, it was Niniashvili, who everybody knows is probably their most dangerous player. He's sort of running along the line a little bit, looking for somewhere to attack, picks out Nicky Smith, goes around him, a little handoff to Gareth Davies, and it just opened up for him. It was really good from the winger, but again, poor from Wales. Poor defence after conceding the second try, and then conceding a third. It was really bad. And I thought, is this going to be one of those games where it goes down to the wire again? Because Wales looked like they'd sort of just completely lost any structure and any sort of idea of what they were doing. Following that, then, bad news, Faletau goes off. He was holding his wrist, but I'm unsure at the moment as I'm recording this what that issue was. So hopefully people in the comments, if you know a bit more, feel free to let us know. But in fairness to Wales, a few subs came on and they sort of got a hold of the game again, and it was some good play which led to Liam Williams finding some space, a chip over the top, and Zamet doing what he does, chasing kicks, and he just seems to get to him before everyone, and they bounce up for him like almost every time. It's uncanny, but that was his second, another easy one for him really. And good play from Wales to create some space, and then Wales really start rubbing it in from there on in. And then about 5 minutes after that, Zamet kicks ahead, chases his own kick down, and it was dabs it down. He sort of overrun it. He got there first. It sort of went behind him. He dabbed it down. I thought he got it down. The commentary team didn't seem to agree with me, but the ref agreed with me, and it looked like the TMO looked at it and he gave the try. The crowd was booing, but I thought it was a try. You don't have to get as much downward pressure as you used to have to. It's more or less just the slightest bit of downward pressure, and I think he just did enough, and that was his hat-trick. And then literally a couple of minutes later, just as the game is about to end, it was more good play from Wales. They actually start running a few patterns, getting some ball carriers going through. Elliot T was had a big carry. They eventually work it wide, and Zamet just pushed George in, who sort of skips past the last defender and just tops it off. And in fairness, Costello nailed the conversion from the touchline as well, making it 43-19. So yeah, as we said, job done. We needed a losing bonus point at the very least. We got the winning bonus point, and we finished the group with 19 out of 20 points, 4 wins out of 4. I mean, going into the World Cup, any Welsh fan, no matter how loyal or buoyant you were at them going forward, you would have snatched your hand off to offer us 19 out of 20 points going in and quarterfinals. So yeah, great. You gotta say it's just been a great turnaround. The rugby today wasn't great. They weren't great against Portugal, but just you can't deny the turnaround the Gatlins had. It's been amazing. But anyway, let's look at the players and let's talk about the performances from the individuals. So as ever, we begin at the forwards with the front row. I thought the front row was pretty good today. Francis got his try. The scrummaging was okay. I think Gareth Thomas will be a little bit disappointed. He had 1 or 2 scrum issues towards the end of his game, but generally a real good performance all around. Lake was brilliant. His tackling was so good. He is a constant jackling threat, and the line-out was good, which will be a positive. That's always been the sort of comment on him as a player. Is he really good enough at the darts? But today, brilliant. I think he was perfect with them. So yeah, Wales will be happy. The front row was good. When the front row replacements came on, they were good as well. Everyone had an impact. D particularly, again, was good. So the competition for that hooker position is fierce. Like, you would think when Lake came off that he would have done enough to definitely get on the bench for the quarterfinals, but D literally had a really good impact off the bench again, and he's had an impact well off pretty much every time he's came on. Sorry, mumbled my words there. So yeah, big decision for Gatland. I think he probably will go with Lake. He's got that X factor, but yeah, D continues to put a lot of pressure and make it difficult for Gatland. So it's really good to have these competitions for places. But yeah, it's crazy when you've got Elias sitting pretty, letting it all go on around him. You never would have thought that going into the World Cup. But yeah, the front row was good all around, so I was happy with that. As I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the game, both second rows were outstanding. Rowlands, he just keeps getting better and better. It's like actually insane. He's just so disruptive at breakdown. He makes his tackles, they're big. I literally say the same thing about him after every game. Like today, he had another one where he made the tackle, he got up, he didn't go for the ball, he just drove through the ruck, and just destroyed the ruck and won the ball back for Wales. It's just tremendous. He never seems to get tired. He's always seems to be in amongst everything that Wales are doing good. I can't say enough good stuff about him. I think he's brilliant. And also Dav Jenkins, particularly in the first half, I think he maybe slowed a little bit as the game went on, but the first half he was brilliant. He was just tackling everywhere. He was super busy. He was always involved in and around the ball. His carrying was good. So yeah, it's again good. Like we said in the last one, Adam Beard put his hand up and had a real good performance, and I've been crying out for Dav Jenkins. But yeah, so now again, it's more competition. You could pick two of any of those three and be sort of happy with your decision. The line out again was really good. I'm really glad that they seem, I don't want to jinx them, but they really seem to have sorted out line out on our own ball, and we stole quite a lot of our own line out. Wainwright was also included in that, so great day out for the second rows. And as we move on to the back rows, like I said, Wainwright was really good at line out time, stole a couple, was reliable on our own ball. He was quite good around the pitch, making quite a lot of tackles, some big carries, especially in that first half. So I was happy with his performance. He's played a lot of minutes as well, so great to see that his energy levels are still high. Faletau was his usual self, solid, good, just great. Well, he's great always, isn't he? But yeah, going off injured is the worry. I actually did just look online before I'm recording this just to check if there was any updates. There is a picture with him in a sling, unfortunately. Obviously, they're going to take every precaution, but when they asked Gatland, the press asked Gatland, he winced and said, yeah, it didn't look good, did it? So they don't know yet, but it doesn't look good. I would be devastated. It's going to be such a blow after he's fought his way, similar back to as Anscombe, fought his way back to, being at the top of his game, and for it to happen like this. It is the nature of rugby, we keep saying it, but yeah, I'll be devastated and it'll be a massive loss. But, we will see. Just everybody keep their fingers and toes crossed. But we have to talk about Rafael and give him his dues. He was outstanding today in defence. His carrying is not a strong point, and that's, I think, where Jack Morgan especially stands out in front of him. Well, Jack Morgan does everything, but yeah, Rafael deserves his flowers today. He was brilliant in defence. He was tackling all over the shop, but at ruck time, it was just unbelievable. Whenever there was an opportunity to steal the ball or win a penalty, he did. They just couldn't handle him. He's so quick at that. He's so brilliant at that. That's why I've been a massive fan of him. I like watching Leicester for some reason, I don't know, but he's obviously a massive player for them. And he was tremendous today. And considering he hasn't played because he's dealt with a couple of niggles, he looked like he'd been playing week in, week out, and he was chomping at the bit. That charge down and then to win the penalty, he just showed how much he was up for it today, and he was just loving it. So yeah, really good performance by him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now, because Basham's been the main one riding the bench. Obviously, he ended up getting a yellow card, which I thought was a little bit harsh. Well, Basham sort of instigated it, but the reaction, which was over the top, came from the winger. Ended up getting a bit of a... There was a big sort of maul of players, everyone getting involved, went on for a while, and it was 2 yellow cards. And that was for Basham. I've gone on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, Basham then got the yellow card, so now I think it's just puts Rafael in that pole position, obviously depending on what happens with Faletau as well. But yeah, sorry, I've rambled a little bit, but anyway, Rafael was my man of the match personally. Yeah, great performance. And if you think that Rafael was man of the match too, maybe sub to the channel, because we obviously, great minds think alike. Anyway, let's move on to the backs and see who impressed. So I don't think this was Thomas Williams' best game. He didn't really control it. Obviously, we know Gareth Anscombe pulled out late, and that shouldn't really change it for him. He should have, if anything, he should have taken more responsibility on his shoulders, and I don't really think he did. He was sort of giving it Len Costello run the show, which, you know, some people might say fair enough, but as the more senior player with what had happened, I think it was on him to really take a bit of generalship, and I don't think he did that. And he wasn't his normal, like, snipey, aggressive and attack self. Yeah, and his defence isn't as good as Gareth Davis, even though Gareth Davis got handed off for the try. But yeah, I don't think that was his best game, and I am a big fan of Thomas Williams, but today wasn't his best game. But Costello, it was a little bit hot and cold. He obviously wasn't expecting to start, so we cannot hold that against him. But he, reacted well. You have to say his goal kicking was excellent. He only missed the one, which was actually just short on distance. It was going to go over if it had the legs, which unfortunately it didn't. But he sort of at times struggled to control the game. Maybe kicked a little bit too much. He's obviously trying to stick to the game plan, but he's better when he's sort of more natural, free-flowing. I know Wales don't play that way, but he's better when he plays like that. So maybe he should have, especially as the game opened up later, taken that more into his hands. But yeah, it was all right. Like, he's gonna have to play these games now, and he's gonna have to learn. I'm a huge fan of his, as anyone who follows this channel knows. So yeah, I'm happy that he's getting an opportunity. Like I said, gutted for Anscombe, but it's time now for Costello to take up the mantle. He's the next in line when these older players retire now. So, I was happy for him to get the game time. Not a vintage performance by him, but solid enough. So we'll move on to the next one. And the next one is Tompkins and North. Tompkins was pretty quiet today, probably one of the most quiet games he's had in recent times. He was solid, didn't really make too many mistakes, didn't miss any tackles, and he didn't sort of get much opportunity. He put a couple of decent passes in. He was pretty solid all round without doing too much. As for North, I thought this was one of North's worst game in recent memories. He was not particularly great in attack, although he got his try. But it was in defence, and like I said, that little 10-minute period, it was just poor discipline, which he's not. That's not what he's usually like. He usually has such high standards. Maybe like the break that they had, sort of lost a little bit of momentum. But yeah, not his best day. But he's a class act, and he'll be ready for the quarters. The main thing is no injuries for these guys, so we got through unscathed. And yeah, on to the next one for them. And then we go to the back three. I'll start with Liam Williams. It was a funny game for Liam Williams. He sort of seemed like, at times, not at the races, and then other times, like he was right bang on it. I guess quite a few of the players, you could say that was the game they had today. But yeah, sometimes his kicking wasn't great, but then he was good in attack. His decision making wasn't great. Yeah, I don't know, just a little bit hot and cold, but like I said, maybe it was the break, maybe it was the fact that we were coming in such heavy favourites, knowing that we needed all we needed was a point to get through. Maybe that affected some of the players and their mindset. I'm not sure. People might you guys might disagree with me about my thoughts on these players, but the two wingers without getting really any ball, which is crazy when you think that Zamet scored a hat-trick. I thought the two wingers were good. Dyer chased his legs off, to be fair. He chased everything, chased every kick, chased every, just absolutely everything, made his tackles. He was pretty solid without getting the ball. He'll be disappointed he didn't get a lot of opportunity with the ball in hand. But yeah, the effort, you just can't question the effort, and I never have for him, in fairness. But I would still 100% bring Josh Adams back in for the next big game. And then Zammit, yeah, what can you say? A hat-trick, and he didn't really get the ball at all. He got the one ball in space, which he ran in from our own half, I think it was, and then it was the two kicks over the top, which, like I said earlier, his hands just seem to be like magnets for those bouncing ball. They always just seem to time. Well, obviously it's him as well, but he's running full pace and it just pops up to him. It's insane. But yeah, he'll be really happy to get that. Get those 3 tries, get some confidence. He's come under a little bit of criticism recently. I've been noticing a lot online. People are saying, how has he got such a big player profile when he hasn't really done anything for Wales? But I think it's just because he's got that raw pace and ability. It'll be good it takes a bit of the pressure off him, so I'm happy for him. And yeah, and he picked up that injury. I didn't think he'd be playing in this game, so to see him running full pace, having no issues, that's a good sign going into the quarters. But that was the starting lineup. We already spoke about the front row, and I spoke at length about Tane Basham for no reason. But also Christianza came on. I thought he was pretty good. Didn't have an awful lot to do, but solid in his day's work. Gareth Davis came on. Sort of steadied the ship a little bit, but he'll be disappointed with that handoff from Niniashvili because he's, like I said, he's a way better defender than that. Then we had Bigger, unused sub, thankfully, because he was drafted up to sit on the bench last minute when he's still recovering from. Obviously, you could have played if you wanted to, but we didn't want to use him, and it's better for Costello to get the minutes. And Mason Grady, without really doing anything, having any opportunity to attack. He had one sort of attack. It was he sort of half broke the tackle. Maybe could have got the offload. Unfortunately, isolated himself and cost Wales a penalty. But that was just one of them things. He didn't really get an awful lot to do. A little bit of defensive work. But just good experience. Get the minutes in him because that's mainly what that guy needs. But yeah, all in all, like we say, it was a job. It was a job done. I mean, I'd like to know what you guys listening think about the performance and how you think we'll go, and what do you think about Gatland leaving on Faletau on as late as he did. I was just reading Mike Phillips was heavily, I have to say, criticising Gatland for leaving him on, saying that he's the main star player and he's still on when you're through at 66 minutes. And I have to say, I completely agree with him. That could turn out to be a bit of a bad decision from Gatland. He hasn't really put a foot wrong this World Cup, so I don't want to criticise him too heavily. But yeah, that's an easy decision to make, is get Faletau off and stuff like that. But we didn't, and we are where we are. We'll find out probably over the next couple of days now what Faletau's injury is, and we can only hope and pray that it wasn't too bad. But yeah, Wales through to the quarters. It's a cause to celebrate. Even though today wasn't a vintage performance, it is really what we expected it to be, a scrappy but comfortable win at the same time against a decent team. Unfortunately, they were depleted. Yeah, now we find out. We wait and see who we face, whether it be Japan or Argentina. I really think Wales have got what it takes to beat both, but I don't want to be too confident. But we'll wait and see. But thanks for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one.